Hello, everyone.
Bonjour.
Thank you for being there watching.
Really appreciate when you check in and listen to what we have to say,
Yeah.
so you know more.
Hold on a second.
There we go. So, who's your master?
What is a master?
What is a master?
And that's gonna be the topic of today, because we were talking about it, obviously in our group chat, because
That's where ideas begin.
that's where they begin.
And the question came out as, wild versus domesticated. Because technically, we're all domesticated. We're not wild animals. And then it asked the question, what turns us not to be wild?
So what turns us not to be wild? This is
And that's where the question of who's your master?
well, and that comes with the notion of what are our values, right? Who teaches us our values? Where do the values begin? And we always say this, and I'm sure we mentioned this plenty of times, but before the age of 7, that's where you instill or learn all of your values. So, since we're on the topic of masters, your masters growing up are your parents, technically, right?
They're the first ones for sure. Then your grandparents. Usually it's the adults around you, because they're the ones showing you manners, showing you how things function.
Discipline,
Motivation.
right?
Exactly.
So
and that's all under the topic of being domesticated.
So they're projecting, or they're showing, I like the word more projecting, because
I like that too.
because are they really showing you the right way? Because there is no right way, they're just showing you their way. So they're projecting their ideas and their values onto you as a child. And that's where you learn and develop your own skill set from those values and from those disciplines. And now those disciplines can be really anything. It could be respect, it could be, learning how to be learning how to be consistent, dedicated. Could be
how to communicate your emotions, how not to communicate your emotions, how to
be
have
confident,
outbursts,
how to be confident.
what does confidence look like.
Things that you're not going to learn in school, obviously, right? Because school teaches you other things.
Well, I think that's another topic. That's another master in itself, right? Because, from the age of 0 to 5, if you go to a daycare, you're going to get domesticated. Because daycares are not going to accept a child who's having tantrums every day. That's a reality. And that's why people see that as wild.
So what's domesticated then? If that's the case, between the ages of 0 and 5, since you're on that topic, what's really domesticated? Is it domesticated because they're home with their mother, because they have no choice, or their grandmother?
I think it's
And
because you're not in the wild.
So what's the wild? Is it the wild being actually in the wild, like the jungle?
It is.
Or is it being wild out there in the society?
Well, that's a great question, because you know what? Let's look at a group of lions, right? In a group of lions, there is the master, there's the king, which is usually the one with the big hair, and then there's the females, and then there's the kitties, and then they follow each other as they go through the wild. And technically speaking, they're domesticated too.
Mm-hmm.
So, at the end of the day, domestication is going to happen whether you like it or not.
So
Even as a wild animal.
So being domesticated, pretty much. Again, this is just a thought process that we came through, and it could be broken down into many different levels,
thoughts,
right?
But the biggest question is, we do talk a lot in this podcast about how there's so many influences out there, and
starting with social media,
TV, news, there's so much out there. And, there's the factor that domestication has levels.
Yeah. Back in the day when we had newspapers, who was it? I remember I was talking with someone where they had said, they worked with newspaper articles, and I remember who I'm talking about, but I just don't want to say their names. But I'm just saying that
privacy.
Yeah. They were telling me that one of the school projects was to or the assignments was to look at the news articles and see what was the form of either marketing or advertising,
Like
or
the strategies they use
the
to
strategies
really
they
get
use.
people's attention.
Yeah, and also what is it that is hidden? What's really hidden behind the
Messages.
newspapers, right? Behind the messages. And she was saying that, you know, everything that everybody wants to see is going to be at the beginning because nobody looks at what's at the back. And then for newspapers back in the day, all of the truth, if you want to call it, was at the back. All those truthful articles that nobody reads was all at the back. And that was cool to look at because now it's everything's at our fingertips, but people are only going to go to what they see or what they want to see.
Yeah,
Right?
because at the end of the day, it's what's shiniest, right?
Mhm.
And I think your friend for sure explained to you that, you know, when it came to rival newspapers, one had to sell versus another. So to be able to get that person's pocket change, or not pocket change, but let's say $5, you really had to have something on the front that really said, "Hey, pick me."
Yeah.
And all the information afterwards, sure, it had the truth, it had conversations, it had, you know, research and stuff like that. But, you know, I think at the end of the day, what you're pointing at is how powerful immediate gratification is.
And not just immediate gratification, but how powerful people's thoughts can be manipulated.
100%. And that's based on the emotions of immediate gratification.
Yeah.
Because if I write up, the world is going to end, usually that sells for the younger
Pretty
ages,
Pretty
right?
much.
And Scott, I don't know, I'm going to forget his name. It starts with an S. Scorsese. Anyways, there was a Roman guy. He influenced the young. He influenced the youth. And because of that, he got prosecuted right away in Rome.
I don't remember.
Say his name.
It's okay.
Starts with an S. C.
Starts with that. There you go.
Scorsese.
It's not the
Can't
point,
say
so it doesn't matter. The
Point
whole point
is-
is that
Information is very addictive. And it's addictive because at the end of the day, it's what causes people to be interested in getting to it.
Well-
And then when you come to domestication, you know, they rather you be domesticated in the way that you're going to make sure buying, consumerism continues.
I was thinking of a thought when you said that the information is kind of addictive. Again, it's the information that goes with your values, or the information that you want to seek at the same time, right? We're always talking about energies. What if we are projecting those or the search engines with our mind because that's what we want to see and that's what we're obviously looking to see.
So
right?
Anthony's talking about algorithms.
that too.
And let's talk about that for a minute, because when we talk about being domesticated, there's the first level, like we've always discussed, in the way that, okay, you grow up, you grow up with your parents, then you go to school, and then during the ages of like 12 to about 17, it's not your parents anymore who are influencing you, it's your friends, it's your peers, hence why there's a lot of problems around that time. But then, and this is why suicide's the most highest between the ages of 18 to 25, is when you're sent out of high school and you say, hey, here's the real world, figure yourself out, and you have no idea who you are. And that's why everybody in the past were always pushed towards teacher, lawyer, dentist, or health professional, and those were the jobs.
So this is a different kind of algorithm you're kind of getting at, right? Because
We're getting at the point that, all these things are taught to us. Now, when it comes to algorithms, think about it. Why is it that we're being promoted to be influencers and stuff like that? Because there's obviously something being pushed, right? It's cool, it's the greatest thing ever, and now, like those other jobs are pushed to the side, and now this is what everybody wants to be, Anthony and I started this based on the idea that we felt more and more people are awakening, and they need to see people who are more amateurs, because there's a lot of people out there who are not amateurs, and they might be trying to sell something, and we say, no, we want to be helpful. We want to make a podcast that makes people talk, get the chance to see, this is an actual real thing,
Try and bring out as much real things as possible, right?
Exactly, and we're not seen as somebody who's trying to sell you something.
At the same time, it's our opinions, and we always tell you every podcast, search your own opinions, search your own information. So
Exactly. Explore. Be
we
curious.
bring out the ideas, but then you guys got to continue exploring, like Chris just said. So
But getting to my point of the algorithms, TikTok,
biggest one.
it is an actual thing the Chinese are using to get information off of you, right?
Yep.
And there's a reason
And
why
that's not hidden, so you can't.
it's not hidden.
It's not hidden.
It's not.
there.
Joe Rogan just posted how everyone should go read one piece of the article in the agreement of choosing to be on TikTok, and it's crazy what you find out. Like they actually, a good third, like even after you turn it off, they are looking at which apps you're using afterwards. They're
Well,
taking all that information.
crazy. Your apps are still on, technically speaking, no matter what, even if your phone is off. It's still there. So all the information is still there. Unless you literally turn it off completely, then your apps are shut off. You will never get it.
And
You'll
this
never
is
get
the level
information.
of being domesticated where do you know what's going on around you? Do you know what you've accepted? Because when you eat something, do you accept that what you're eating might not actually have all the minerals and stuff that you actually need? So at the end of the day, what you're coming down to is the question of domestication, algorithms, all these things telling you to go a certain direction. But you need to become aware of this because that's the only time that you stop and you're like, whoa, do I want to go in this direction?
So we'll take it into like pet animals, right? Cats and dogs. Your dog is domesticated, right? It's not always in the wild. We are the ones that have to guide it and tell it what to do. So I'm gonna be a little far-fetched over here. That's fine, but who's to say that we live in a box, within a box, within a box, stuck to a telephone that is a box? Who's to say that we aren't the ones domesticated to be taught certain ways and to be programmed in a certain box and to stay within that box and don't think outside the box, right? That expression. Who's to say that all these programs have been
Implemented.
and manipulated just so you have no extra thoughts without
Of your own.
yeah, exactly, without thoughts of your own, right?
How do you even know what is yours? That's
Exactly.
meta.
So that's and that brings us to where everything actually started with energy.
Wild or domesticated.
Wild. Also, what I'm trying is this is where coming back to meditation and coming back to your inner self, your inner soul, doing the work you need to try and let go of everything around you, especially the phones and stuff, to really sit down and say, who am I? What
And-
am I?
You said phone, but as crazy as it is, we're doing this right now on a phone.
I know, and you know what?
But
That's
the biggest thing
critical
is
sometimes, but it's-
Anthony and I know that a phone is a tool.
Yeah, that's
It's
the
a
difference.
tool, just like how this is a mouse. It's a tool. You're
We
in
don't let it
control.
consume us. Yeah.
But on some level, becoming domesticated to the point that you don't even realize you're domesticated is recognizing, is not being able to recognize that your phone is in control of you. And the algorithms that are being used and everything like that, you're being domesticated. And that's why, at some crazy level, being wild is knowing this.
you step outside of the box and you
Right? Wild as in, then domesticated, and now you recognize all of this, and you're being called wild because
you have your own thought.
Because you're out of the box.
Exactly, you came out of the box. It's as simple as that. It's you could look at wild as being open and free, and that doesn't mean running free to kill someone or to beat someone up, whatever it is. That's not exactly what I'm saying. It's being free to being mindful of what's around you, of who you are, and to bring out as much love as possible to the table. We always talk about love. Love is the best frequency, the best energy to have. So being wild in your own loving environment, in your own loving energy, in your own enlightened environment that could keep elevating you, pretty much, because we elevate every day. Everything changes every day. Every molecule in our body changes every day. Every atom is specific to change every day because it always vibrates at a certain frequency.
I think what you're pointing to is what balance actually looks like.
And that too.
Because once you become fully balanced, you recognize that being wild is recognizing that all these domesticated things that you've been put on can get put on another side. And you're in the middle being able to say, whoa, I'm actually thinking that way because of this and because of that. And I'm actually able to be free of all this stuff because I could choose to be a bit wild about it.
And we started the conversation of who's your master or what is a master. We're not saying that masters are bad. We're just trying to point out that
We want you to be your master.
you are your own master.
Master of yourself.
And the reason why we started
Pokemon
this-
master.
And the reason why we actually started the conversation like this is because there's masters in every domain. You have your martial arts masters, you have your masters in school, you have your masters. Your bosses could be considered a master as well. There's a master everywhere.
There's a level of the fact that there's somebody above you who's ensuring that you're domesticated on a level that you follow that person. And like Anthony's mentioning, it could be a physical person or it could be yourself. And that's what Anthony and I believe in and really want to promote is that you are the master of yourself.
Yeah.
Because once you're the master of yourself, you will find balance within yourself because you are a person of light.
Yeah, exactly.
If you ever met someone who's an artist, for example, an artist does their best work once they've shut off the whole world around them, which in reality is shutting off all of those domesticated values and all this, and they're just themselves in a nice piece of paper and they go at it.
Because it's their thought process that comes out, right?
Exactly.
And that's what makes the beauty of art. And that's what we said also before. No one's ever wrong. There's no right or wrong way. It's one's opinion that can either help someone or do nothing for someone.
Just want to thank the two people who just joined us. Thank you for joining us. Hi. Greetings.
But so
Yeah,
that's
so-
exactly it, right?
You know, and then that's where you have to ask yourself the question of, for example, somebody believes or got domesticated in believing that, every morning they have to brush their teeth. Now some people might be like, whoa. Of course you have to brush your teeth. Sure. But then the question is, how fixated are you on doing it? And then you got to ask yourself the major question. Wait a minute. Who's in control now? Because you can choose not to brush your teeth.
And who's to say brushing your teeth is actually helpful?
And that's
I'm just going outside the box, being devil advocate, right? So
Hey, we all started finding out what things are about fluoride, right? So let's be fully honest here. And let's be honest. Let's say you don't have a toothbrush and you don't have toothpaste this one morning. Can you start your day without it? And you got to ask yourself the emotions here. Because I am from the counseling side. He's from the naturopath side. And I can tell you emotionally, if someone's so fixated on the fact that they have to brush their teeth before they start their day, who's in control there?
which we call that OCD, by the way.
If it starts controlling your life to the point that it causes you to become dysfunctional, yes.
So hold on
There's
a second.
going to be a diagnosis.
Hold on a second. Now that we're on that point, then who's controlling who? Is it, if you're not in control, is it the person that taught you that controlled you, that thoughts into your mind that you have to brush your teeth? All right, we're still on the topic of brushing teeth.
Who's your master?
Or is it the toothbrush that's controlling you, that's
Wow.
saying, I have to brush my teeth?
Are
with
you
this
telling me an item is in control?
and that's where I'm getting at. I'm really getting outside the box.
That is
How
interesting.
far can we bring it? that just dawned on me. Like, you know what? Who is in control? Is it you in control, or is it the toothbrush that's in control?
And that's where the question lies, right? Because at the end of the day, who's the master, right?
Yeah.
If you can wake up and just wake up, go it on your day, and just live it, technically you're the master. Because you're not going according to a structure that is telling you what to do, and if you don't follow it, you start feeling emotionally unstable. But if you're capable of waking up and you're choosing to brush your teeth because you're like, hey, I'm going to meet people today. I don't want them to smell my dirty mouth. Yeah, I'll do it. That's the mindset, because at the end of the day, you got to ask yourself, who's in control? Is it you? Or is it all these standards that have been implemented to the fact that your toothbrush is now looking at you saying,
brush me now.
brush. I want to taste your mouth.
So we're gonna go back. I want to go back to masters a bit also. So someone could be a master, right? Like we have the master. I'm using qigong in my head because that's what I'm practicing now. So you have your master qigong, but every master itself, every person themselves, they are always looking to better themselves. They're always looking to evolve. They're always learning, right? So no matter what, master or not, the only reason we are a master is because we have so much experience in that domain, in that field, or whatever you're doing, that you can call yourself a master. That you can call yourself, or being able to tell yourself, you know what, I've had so much experience in this domain that, you know what, I can start teaching people now. So no matter what, the person who is deemed a master will always learn something, or will always want to learn something. And side note on that is, if you catch someone that says they know everything, start running away from them, because not everybody can know anything. And the more that you know something, the less you actually know. Right?
That's ego.
That is part of the ego also as well. But
you want to learn from someone who's willing to recognize you as a teacher as well.
Yeah,
I think there's a great quote that goes, a true student recognizes when to have a teacher and recognizes when not to have a teacher, because they are now their own teacher. I screwed up on that for sure. But the point we're making...
But that is the good point, because, a master will always learn from their students. So the student is always going to learn from the master, but the students can sometimes teach the master. I learn from my clients every single day. Sometimes when I'm talking to them and I'm trying to help them in certain ways, it's like, oh, I just said something that helped you, that was supposed to help you, but it also helps me at the same time. So it's always a give and take situation no matter what. So the master is the master, but know that they're not always there to run your life. They're there to learn, to teach you, but to learn with you at the same time. That's the point I'm trying to get at.
I've been working with kids for over 16 years, and they've taught me thousands of stuff.
Yep.
And I've always told them, I might be the adult in the room, but we're teaching each other.
Mm-hmm.
And at the end of the day, Anthony's pointing out the reality in this world where there are people out there who want to be your master. They want you to follow them like
they want you to be controlled.
They're your god. If you look at Egypt, the pharaohs wanted to be seen as the god. That's what they wanted, and they'd go to extra lengths to make sure you saw them as God. And let's be honest, civilizations only happened because people were starting to get domesticated. If a wild person came into a domesticated area, like Egypt, they would usually be killed off or sent back into the wild, because that's how that worked. And still to today. So when you become the master of yourself, it's because you've mastered what it is to be you. Like, I'm mastering what is it to be Chris, because my life is my life. Anthony masters who he is. So when people come to us for help, it's more in the question of, what level are you at knowing yourself, right? Anthony is capable of finding out all the things that are going on within your physical body, and the certain supplements you might need so that your body functions at its best potential. You might not know that stuff because you didn't learn about that stuff. More emotions, and talk to people to recognize where they're at emotionally and mentally, in their thoughts and their patterns, like this conversation right now. Who's the master, right? And then really asking yourself the question, are you happy living life a certain way? And recognizing, wait a minute, this isn't working for me anymore. I want to go in a new direction.
Which you're able to.
And that's because you're capable of recognizing, ooh, I got domesticated in these levels, in these conversations. I truly believe brushing my teeth is necessary. I have to do it. Sure, you do. But do you need fluoride? maybe not, because more and more research is coming out, and more doctors who've been silenced before are starting to say, "Hey, I don't care no more.
Even in small doses is not good for you."
I'm starting to talk about this."
Yeah. So that's it. We just start mastering yourself, start learning who you really are, and become your own master. Learn to just be in your own thought process, express your own thoughts as well. That's when you truly become your own master. And I'm not saying, always going against someone or always having to argue with someone. No, I'm just saying, be a Zen master within yourself, that when something does come about, let's say it's a different information, that you're able to recognize what the information is, acknowledge it, try and understand it in a different perspective, see if it benefits you, and if not, well, that is what it is. You could just keep it or let it go.
There's a great two words that says, is it conducive to your life or is it non-conducive? And once you open your mind to perceptions out there, you can ask yourself. I come up with all kinds of perceptions, and Anthony has to throw out a freaking
rope and pull you back in.
Pull me back in because whoa, this is a crazy idea right there.
A little too far sometimes.
But that's okay. That's what friends are for. When you go a little too far, like, okay, come back now. You've gone too far off the railings. And that's okay, because you know what? If not, then why did God give me a mind like I do, right? It's fun to think. It's fun to explore perceptions, but it's important.
And why? It's because everybody's going to have their own perception.
And it's important not to get lost in them too, because that's the main reality, right? Like, imagine getting lost in your mind to the fact that your toothbrush is in control of your life, in the way that your toothbrush looks at you and says, "You didn't brush me this morning. I hate you." Like, that's crazy, right? But that does happen.
Yeah.
And you got to ask yourself, is that healthy? Hell no, it's not. It's really not.
So we'll leave you guys on that note. Be your own master. Learn to become your own master as well. So that means do the inner work. Do the work every day. You're always learning to be someone who you're supposed to be every day. You're always going to be faced with challenges. So be sure to be ready when those challenges hit. And know when the challenges are arising. Acknowledge them. Learn the patterns. Break the patterns. And that's when you just keep evolving and become your own master and become your own soul person that you're supposed to be.
So know that you are a domesticated animal. You are. It's what it is. That's the point of this whole conversation. You are.
But
then the question is, what level of domestication are you okay with? Right?
And
you get to choose.
Yeah.
Right? You get to choose. Okay, wait a minute. I was doing this forever, but wait, is it healthy for me? You choose. And if other people look at you like, you don't brush your teeth, you're disgusting, you say, okay, well, maybe I should brush a little bit, or maybe I take a mint.
One example, but yeah, exactly. So, be your own master, know the challenges that are going to come your way, and just keep evolving.
We care.
Thank you guys, and see you next time.